For our exercise in the third hour, we will just apply what we have learned before. And for that, please create a new module, sorry, a new component. So either you use the NX console or you say ng generate component, and that will give it a name, and that will be our to-do list. ng generate component to-do list. What else do we have to do? Let's quickly recap it. In app routing module, we have to add another route. Very simple. Path to do component to do list component. And finally, add it to our main menu in app component HTML. I will just copy this one. To do list. Let's quickly verify that it really works. So let's go into the app. Let's go up here, to-do list works, looks good. Nice, let's focus on the to-do list. Please open the to-do list component HTML and the to-do list component TS. We need both of them. I would like to maintain a list of to-do items. And this list of to-do items should consist of JavaScript objects that adhere to a certain interface. Interface, I guess you all know what interfaces are from other programming languages or from TypeScript. To-do item. Let's call it assigned to string and description string. To-do item. If you prefer to remove the I and just call it to-do item, that's fine for me too. That's a question of personal preference. Assigned to is a person, and description is just the description of to-do. Now in the to-do list component, we'll just add a bunch of demo data, okay? Let's call it to-do list. That's an to-do item. Array. Let's make it an array and add, let's say, 3 elements. So the first one is assigned to, I don't know, Superman, description, shop for kryptonite, and assigned to take Homelander. Description, do some crazy stuff. Good. Okay. Now we have to-do items. Now it becomes more important because now we go into HTML. And the first thing I will do is I will write the to-do list header. And now my question is, I would like to display the to-do list in a table. How do I do that? Help me. Which kind of binding am I going to use? What should I write? Yeah, let's add a header. Sorry, t head. td, something like this. You mean that one? Do you mean it like that? Assigned. Something like this. And the description. Let's see. And then we have a t-body. You mean it like that? And then you said a td, right? Yep. And? Star ngFor. Let t of to-do items. This one is, oh sorry, to-do list. I called it to-do list. I'm sorry, I messed up. To-do list. Okay, got it. Now, you mixed it up. This one should be tr. Yeah, this one should be tr. And then we have, whoops, and then we have td. And inside of the td, the first one, I should write what? Which special? Curly braces, correct, exactly. This is what we want to do, interpolate, and say t dot assigned to. Exactly, and the second one will be t dot description. For those of you who don't have it in their minds, if you are not sure, HTML table NDN, Mozilla Developer Network, is always a good thing to look it up. That will bring you to the Mozilla Developer Network web documentation. And here you see that you always have some HTML stuff at the beginning. Now check it. Did we have table? Yes. Did we have t-hat? Yes. What were we missing in the table header? Exactly. This is what you had wrong in the t-body. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Thank you for your proposing the solution. It was nearly perfect. All we were missing is this tr, table row, table header, and table definition, table data. Let me quickly check if we screwed up. No, looks good. See? It's not very beautiful. If you want to make it a little bit more beautiful, you could say, let's format the table, put a border, 1 pixel solid black, for instance, around it. Let's take a look. That's only around. If we go into the TD, TD, then we get the border around the different elements. See that one? Oh, sorry. That will give us a nice border around the header elements and the TDs. Does anybody know how to get rid of these ugly spaces between the borders? Yes? Yeah, what you essentially need, that's not the margin. It's on the table. You can say border collapse. Collapse. And if you do it like that, boom, we have it like that. See? So this is optional. If you just want to make it a little bit more beautiful, you could use it something like this. This border collapse removes the spaces between the borders, and with this you can apply some styling to multiple HTML elements. We are not yet in the area of user interface design, but you will see me in the next weeks and months always sneaking in a little bit CSS just to refresh your memory and to tell you a little bit about how to use CSS. This is 1 pixel, this is solid, I think everybody knows it, and this is a color. Of course. Good. Nice. Next requirement. My next requirement is I would like to be able to add new to-do items. So what I want up here is I want to have a div, and in this div I want to have 2 input fields and a button. 2 input fields for assigned to and for description, and a button for add. I will help you with the input fields, okay? Let's do it like that. There is something which is called a label. I can say assigned to. And then we say this is an input type text. Let's deal with the data binding later on. We can put both things in a div to arrange it a little bit more beautifully. And then we can copy this stuff and say this one is the description. And finally, we'll do a button. Let's call it add. Let's quickly take a look. Okay, it's not perfectly beautiful because this add and the table should be a little bit, there should be a distance between it. So what we could do in the CSS, we could say table oops, sorry, margin top, let's say 15 pixel, for instance. And that will move the resulting table a little bit down. This is not beautiful, what you see here, but this is something for another lecture. For now, this is fine. Let's focus on Angular for the moment. Which kind of bindings do I need to really fill this code part here with life? To be able to enter something and to be able to implement the business logic for adding a new to-do item. Come on, help me. Yes?
Two-way bindings.
Two two-way bindings for the inputs, right?
Yeah. Good.
Banana in the box. Can anybody remember what we have to write inside of the bananas? ngModal. Correct. Exactly. Let's call it assigned to. Let's go to TypeScript. And here, let's say assigned to is equals to empty. Something like this. Let's use single quotes to be more consistent. And you said two-way bindings. This one and this one. Let's call it description. And let's go here and say description equals to empty string. So now I have two-way bindings. We will make these two-way bindings a little bit more interesting in a few minutes. For now, it's okay. What is the next data binding that I need? Event binding, yes, exactly, an event binding. And how do I do an event binding? Exactly, and what is the event? We want to react on a button. Click, thank you. Finally. I know that you know that. I know that the day is already long. So we can add here a little bit of TypeScript code, add item, something like this. And then here we just say add item. Is it okay like this? No, it isn't. I need to call the method, okay? Good. Nice. Let's write the code. It's really trivial. This .to-do list .push new not new. I'm in the wrong programming language. So assigned to this one should be set to this .assigned to, and description should be set to this .description. Nice? And if you haven't screwed up and you go to to-do list, I can now click on add and my element is in the to-do list. See it? Works. Nice. A little bit code enhancement, okay? New item is of type I2do item, and then I use a new object like this. And of course I have to replace this one and this one. And this one with the colon and this one with the colon. Because now I immediately have the new item as an object. Then I can change the data bindings here. I can say new item dot and new item dot. See that one? So this is important. Remember that. You can easily set data bindings on nested objects. So now we have inside of a class an object, and inside the object we have the field. So inside of the object we have the field. That makes this push a little bit simpler. We can just say push this dot new item, and we can clear everything by simply copying this code up here and saying this. That means after the element has been added, we reset the fields to empty values. Let's quickly check it. Assign to, enter something, add, nice, it's here. See, input is deleted, so I can change anything else here, add, and you see, it works. Next question. I want to have a delete button at the right hand side of every table row with which I can delete the element in the to-do list. So I want to have an empty column here, something like this. I want to have a column here. I want to have a button which says delete, or just an X, in order to display a button with an X in the middle. You see, I have this X here, and if I click here, I want to delete the first one. If I click here, I want to delete the second one. How could I do that? Okay, event binding, click. Good. So remove item. What should I give as parameter? The T. Okay. T. Let's try that one. Here, let's write some logic. Remove item. What should be the parameter? Item to delete, I to do item. Did you mean it like that?
Yes.
Okay. What should be the code? This dot to-do list dot what? Remove? There is no remove. Delete? There is no delete. We can use splice, correct. And if we take a look at splice, we need to have an index. This dot to-do list, let's say index, see, index off. Does that look good? Okay, item to delete. And 1, because we want to delete exactly one element. Did you mean it like that?
Yep.
Yes.
I think I thought of a better way.
Yeah, I can remember a better way too, but give me a second, okay? Let's quickly check whether it works at all. Let's scroll down, click, yeah, it's gone. Click, yeah, it's gone. Let's add something again. And we can delete it. It generally works, okay? Give your colleagues a second before we think about how we can improve this one. So remember, removing an element from an array in JavaScript is done with the splice method. Splice gets the index where to delete something, and then the number of elements you would like to delete. In this case, just 1. Good. Now, your idea, how could we make that more elegant, more efficient?
I think, if I remember correctly, there's also a way to also get the index.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Let's check that together. Here we have this ngFor. See that one? Let's go into the documentation of Angular, go to the API reference that I've shown you before, and if the internet is nice, here it is, we can look for ngFor. We get an ngFor off, and if I scroll down a little bit, I will see some examples, and I recognize there is something which is very interesting. See that one? Oh, interesting. Data binding, ngFor can deliver the index with index as. Remember how you look that up in the documentation. It's important that you know that there are examples in the documentation and where to find it. So what we can do here is we can say index as I, and then comes the important thing. You see, I'm now changing the remove item to I. I'm passing in the index here. I change that from item to delete to index to delete, make it a number, and then just specify here, instead of the index off, the index to delete. And that's definitely more efficient because we do not need to manually look up the element. Let's check it. Here it is. Delete. Delete still works. Nice. Exactly. This is how it should look like. Let me show you the HTML again. Here you see the index. and we pass in the I, and we have our event binding. Now if my list is a little bit longer, let's say I add a few items, it starts getting a little bit complicated to follow along. I want to have a technique which is called zebra striping. Do you know zebra striping? You know the animal zebra, right? What is the special feature of a zebra? It has stripes. What do you think is zebra striping? Every second line in a different color. So it's easier for the human eye to follow a single line. This is called zebra striping. In German there is a very special and strange German word for that. Do you know it? Yes, but not in IT. In IT this is called a Zeilenfinder. It comes from the old printed, I'm way too old to know that. How can I do that? How can I paint every second line in a different color? Yes? Modular operator is definitely a possibility, but where do I apply the modular operator? Style binding or class binding? What would you prefer?
I think class binding.
Right, let's do that. So what we are going to do is we go to the SCSS file and we define that we have a style which is called, let's stick with that one, highlight, and say that this is the background color, and let's make it, I don't know, what will you see? Let's make it very, very obvious, okay? So let's use black, and let's say the color is white. Okay? So this will be pretty obvious even on the video beamer. Now we can use, as you proposed, a class binding. So what we can say here, class.highlight, and now you said, please use the modulo operator. I think you meant something like I modulo 2 equals 0. Did I understand your intention correctly? Good. Let's see. Oh my God, it's here. See it? Nice. But there is room for improvement. What do you think? Is this something that you need pretty often? You see that on the internet very, very frequently. Every second line, different color. Guess what? If we take a look at the documentation and scroll up a little bit, where is the documentation? Where is it? There is a table that I'm looking for. Here. You see it? Just like there is an index, there is also a ready-made even and odd property in the ngFor. So what we can say, to make it even simpler, we can say even as E, and then specify just here what? E. And if you take a look at that one, it will just work. Nice. Works. So your modulo idea was definitely correct, but ngFor is even nicer to you and gives you a ready-made even or odd flag that you can use, and that makes this solution even simpler. Last but not least, I would like to have another column in my table. There should be a button which is called Started. And when I click on it, I would like to change the, let's make something up, the description, and set the description to, name of the description, bracket started. And additionally, I want the button starting to be grayed out. Understand what I mean? So I can start the to-do item, then I see in the description that I already started it, and then I cannot start it again. I can only delete it when I'm done. Understand what I mean? First thing is kind of obvious. I will do that for you. Let's add another column. And inside of this column, we say button start. See? And if I want, when I click on start, I should see here in the description, bracket started, start should be grayed out, not removed, grayed out. And when I'm really done, I will delete this to-do item. Help me. How can I solve that? That will be our last exercise of today. Oh, you would do it like that. Yeah, we can do that, definitely. I like that one. So what we can do is we can say started, let's make it a Boolean, right? The question mark here means what? It is optional. Yes, it is. In JavaScript, you don't just have null, you also have undefined. So technically, it's undefined. But the question mark means started can be defined or not. Okay, yeah, but generally, it's okay. Good, started. I did what you asked me for. What else? Let's deal with the description here. What do I have to enter here? Exactly here, in order to add the word started to the description once we started an item.
Span, you can write something.
I like that one. Span. And here, inside the span, what?
ngIf.
Okay. If started, write started. Let's test that one. Just to add our demo data, let's say Superman has already started to shop for kryptonite. Let's make it true. Let's see. See? Started. Looks good. How can I solve the problem that the start button should be disabled once the user already started the item? Yes, do you have an idea?
Property binding.
A property binding onto which property? It's on the screen.
Disabled.
Disabled. It's disabled if we have started. If you already have started, disable it. Let's check it. See? Start is disabled. Nice. And last but not least, what should I do with the button? Okay, I allow you to do the logic here in HTML. Just for once. Just for now. What should I do? Yeah?
Start is true.
Exactly. That's it. See? If I click on start, it says started, it's disabled, I can remove it. It's as easy as that. Start, delete, delete, everything is perfectly fine. Of course, this one, in practice, we would not do it here. We would do something like set started, give it the item that we currently have, and in TypeScript, we would say set started item, I to do item, and inside of the code, we just say item.started equals true. Now it's beautiful. Now we have removed the logic from HTML. But for a quick prototype, it's perfectly fine to do that. See? It works as expected. So in this small sample, we have structural bindings, ngFor and ngIf. We have a class binding. We have an interpolation. We have one-way bindings, like this, and we have two-way bindings. And with these simple ingredients, we could write a whole to-do list management within a few lines of TypeScript code. See, it's really not difficult. The most parts are just data models and so on. And a few lines of HTML code. With that, I'm pretty much done for today. The goal of today was to set the stage for the rest of the semester. We discussed some organizational issues at the beginning of the lecture today. This was the first hour. And then we spent 3 hours recapping what Angular is. The goal was for you to get started into the year and that you can remember what you learned about Angular last year, okay? I know most of you had a lot of déjà vu experiences today because you already know that, but that's exactly what I wanted to do. Still, I hope that some of the things that I showed you were new, okay? For today, thank you. For the homework, please do the checklist, make sure everything is installed. I see you next week, on Thursday. Have a nice week.